It's July 31st, 2015. We're in Queens, where a game between the New York Mets and Washington Nationals remains tied in the bottom of the 12th inning. Nobody on, nobody out, Mets up looking for a walk-off. This is an important moment for the usual reasons: division rivalry and jockeying for first place. But it has a chance to be truly special on a totally different level because of this man at the plate. To understand why, we must rewind. This episode of Rewinder is presented by T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. While it's not the main reason this Citi Field crowd is tingling right now, the race for the NL East depends on moments like this one. The Washington Nationals have won this division 2 of the last 3 seasons, and here they sit in first place today. The Mets hang just a couple games behind Washington, and tonight begins a 3-game series wherein New York could close that gap. Whether that matches your expectations or not depends on when you formed those expectations. Before this season, expectations were tepid, but that changed. Tommy John surgery took Zach Wheeler out of commission, but gave back another pitcher, Matt Harvey, after he missed all of 2014. Plop a rehabilitated Harvey beside these guys, and you're looking at several viable aces, young and old. Jacob deGrom is just breaking out as a star, while Bartolo Colon is literally still a star in his 40s. That staff, with closer Jeurys Familia sealing the deal, pitched the Mets into first place in April, including some big opening series victories in Washington, where Colon outdueled Max Scherzer, and Harvey got a win against Steven Strasburg. These Mets won 11 straight at one point and became the surprising talk of the majors. Even when those pitchers flagged somewhat, Noah Syndergaard and Steven Matz came up from the minors looking quite promising. The arms warrant faith. When the Mets fell back toward the mediocrity people expected, it was because of the offense. A lineup that's always been pocked with question marks only got flimsier. New York already needed production from some unproven bats, and then injuries made it worse. The Mets slumped, and when pressed to fix that offense, GM Sandy Alderson called the media citizens of Panic City, which some people did not like. That was late June, and one had to wonder if New York was just packing it in and giving up on the season. Only recently did the Mets front office make it very clear that would not be the case. On July 24th, they went out and got some helpful bats, Kelly Johnson and Juan Uribe. A couple days ago, the Mets got some pitching help by trading for Tyler Clippard. And today was the big one. Before this game, the Mets went out and made a deal for star outfielder Yoenis Cespedes. He'll arrive to help fight the Nats tomorrow. So the Mets are going for it. They're not giving up. They've made moves. They're still trying to win the NL East. That's the big picture. And that's what's at stake in this moment against the division leader. But it's not what people are feeling right now. The emotion palpable in this stadium is something more intimate. It's all about the move the Mets didn't make. The man at the plate right now with a chance to start or even finish a Mets rally is Wilmer Flores. Right now, his presence and his opportunity feel bigger than the big picture. Wilmer wasn't supposed to be here. He has been here a while, in the Mets system, that is. Wilmer was born in Venezuela, and at this point I feel like I have to tell you, he has 2 brothers who are also named Wilmer. Anyway, our Wilmer signed with the Mets organization on the day he turned 16. Their scouts had never seen a kid that skinny hit that hard. Opponents in the minor leagues found the same thing. Wilmer couldn't see an R-rated movie without a guardian, but he was raking. This '09 New York Times piece tells of a team intentionally walking Flores with runners on first and second. Those stories and some impressive stats amounted to a high and sometimes even tip-top ranking among the most touted Mets prospects when Flores was still a teenager. Flores logged a lot of reps in the minors, long enough for his ranking to lag a bit and then pick right back up. Finally, on the day he turned 22, Flores debuted for the big league Mets and stuck around to spell the injured David Wright at third base. It went, The bat didn't pop, the glove didn't perform at basically any position Flores tried. Last season, Flores got a surprise early season fill-in start, and then got more opportunities later in the year when the Mets were totally out of contention. He looked better overall, better enough that at the beginning of this important 2015 campaign, Wilmer was named the opening day shortstop, even with doubts lingering about his defense. It's been a long, long road, but Wilmer Flores finally got to be an everyday Met this season, and he demonstrated enough of that power potential that some offered his ascent as a reason the Mets hadn't made a big trade entering June. Obviously, that last thing changed this month. The Mets pushed in their chips, and Flores, it turned out, was a chip. To improve their chances, and I guess satisfy those residents of Panic City, the Mets pursued the biggest bats on the trade block. They quickly zeroed in on Carlos Gomez, the aging but still powerful star languishing on the awful Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee was going nowhere and prepared to deal Gomez for younger players, but they wouldn't accept only the injured Zach Wheeler in return. They wanted Flores. And on the evening of July 29th, the Mets said, "Fine, he's yours." Just one thing. On the evening of July 29th, 2 nights ago, the Mets were right here in the middle of a game against the Padres. Wilmer was playing shortstop. Neither he nor Mets manager Terry Collins had been alerted to the trade talks, nor the deal being verbally finalized mid-game. Someone else spilled the beans, though. At 8:57 p.m., Joel Sherman of the Post reported that the Mets got Gomez. A few minutes later, the whole internet knew Flores was in that deal. And then, a few minutes after that, in the 7th inning, Flores stepped to the plate. Every fan in attendance who was checking Twitter between innings, which is to say, absolutely everyone, knew Flores was a goner, but Wilmer himself had no idea, and he was flabbergasted when he got a standing ovation. Only when Wilmer returned to the dugout did he realize why that happened. But still, as far as Terry Collins knew, nothing was official, so Flores went back out on the field to play shortstop, and that's when the dam burst. These were the tears of a guy, still only 23, who had been part of the same organization since he was a child, living far away from his home, working year after year toward this very opportunity. In an instant, without warning, he had to move halfway across the country and start fresh, on an awful team, no less. So many athletes in so many sports have experienced this moment before. Trades are cruel like that. Very few, though, have had their emotional response witnessed and documented in the middle of a game. Finally, the Mets front office called the dugout and told Collins to pull Flores in the 9th inning. Milwaukee execs wondered what the player they had just acquired was still doing out there to begin with. Except the deal wasn't done, not technically. While going over Carlos Gomez's medicals, the Mets doctors saw something that spooked them. Gomez has had some leg injuries this year, but insisted yesterday that he's fine. Sexy, in fact. Didn't matter. The Mets scrapped the entire deal, and at game's end, Flores, along with the rest of the world, found out he was in fact not getting traded for Carlos Gomez. Of course, that didn't mean he would remain a Met for good. Yesterday, Flores and his manager recalled that surreal scene on the field. Flores explained his emotions quite simply. Collins defended his decision to leave Flores out there at greater length, insisting he had no idea there was a trade, and placing some blame on everyone's cell phones. But the trade deadline wasn't until 4 p.m. on July 31st. That is today. Just a few hours ago, the Mets went out and made that other big deal for Cespedes. And it didn't include Flores. Wilmer Flores is, after clearly believing he wouldn't be and showing the whole world how he felt about that, a New York Met. And now he's up for them in a really big moment. It would be so sweet if he could deliver right here. But make no mistake, Wilmer does not need a walk-off tonight to become a fan favorite. He is already there. It's not like Wilmer Flores wanted to weep openly in front of thousands of people, but if anything could endear someone to the long-suffering fans of a downtrodden team, it was that outpouring of emotion that took place here 2 days ago. Tonight was the fans' chance to return that emotion, and Wilmer has given them ample opportunity to express themselves. Almost instantly, in fact. Flores is covering second base tonight, and the third pitch of the game produced this hard-hit ball that required this sick diving play for an out at first. It's a great play, but you don't usually hear this kind of crowd pop for infield defense.
That's a fine play.
Nor do people usually give standing ovations in the top of the first inning. But that is how completely Wilmer Flores has won the hearts of Mets fans. For simply making his first plate appearance, Wilmer got another standing ovation. This was beautiful. Later on, Wilmer came up with runners on first and second, and he drove one in with a grounder just out of reach. This place went nuts.
Here comes Uribe with the first run of the game.
So tonight has already been magical for Wilmer Flores and his adoring fans. The Mets would love a walk-off here. They're all in on this season, as evidenced by the moves they made this month and this very afternoon. Some wins off the first place Nats would represent huge strides in their quest to win the NL East and maybe beyond. On paper, that's what's at stake here, and it doesn't have to be Wilmer. And on paper, it won't be. The announcers just noted, sort of tongue-in-cheek, that he's gone a while without a homer.
All you gotta do, Wilmer, is hit it out of the park.
It's only been 146 at-bats since his last home run. He's due.
And that is fine. The Mets just need someone, anyone, to pull them ahead at some point. Wilmer just needs to get on base to do his job. He doesn't have to be the one to end the whole thing right here. But man, if it is Wilmer, if this young man who has been part of this organization since basically childhood, who has ascended and struggled and grappled with the pain of leaving in front of the only fan base he's ever known as a pro, if he could make it happen, then an already magical night might become something historic. Let's see. Welcome to a moment in history.
Flores drives it. Deep left center field. Taylor back near the wall. It's out of here! Flores ends it with a home run! Wilmer Flores night at Citi Field comes to a fitting close, and the Mets win it 2-1 in 12.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more stuff and see your name up here with everyone else's, I highly recommend subscribing to Secret Base on Patreon. If you want to stick around on YouTube, here's some more stuff to watch.